Persian Gulf coast, southern Iran near Bandar Abbas. 7 in the morning. 70 U.S. Army Rangers were approaching a naval shipyard where Iran manufactured fast attack boats for military operations. The facility stretched along the waterfront for nearly a kilometer. This shipyard included 4 large docks extending into the Persian Gulf, 3 assembly buildings located inland, and a central administration facility that coordinated production activities. About 110 Iranian naval security forces protected the facility. These soldiers were trained specifically to defend critical naval facilities from sabotage or attack, and they maintained regular patrols throughout the shipyard while manning defensive positions at key locations. The Rangers were conducting a dual assault from both land and sea, taking advantage of the facility's location between the mountains and the water. After infiltrating overland through mountainous terrain during the night, 40 soldiers had moved quietly through rocky valleys to avoid detection by Iranian border patrols. These soldiers were now positioned on ridges overlooking the shipyard from the north, with clear views of the entire facility spread out below them. The remaining 30 Rangers were approaching from the Persian Gulf, aboard 6 small inflatable boats preparing to assault the waterfront docks directly from the sea. The boats moved slowly through the calm morning waters, staying low to avoid being spotted by Iranian coastal observation posts. Intelligence reports indicated the facility was currently building 18 fast attack boats at different completion stages. These boats were the same type Iran used for coastal defense and potential swarm attacks against larger naval vessels in the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. Some boats were nearly finished and awaiting final systems installation, including weapons, communications equipment, and navigation systems. Others were still in early construction, with hulls being assembled on the docks. The facility represented Iran's primary production capability for these small, fast boats, and its destruction would significantly impact Iran's ability to build new vessels for several years. All Rangers carried equipment for the mission, including breaching charges for opening locked doors and gates, demolition explosives set to destroy boats and buildings, and weapons for engaging security forces. The teams had trained extensively for amphibious assault operations and coordinated attacks from multiple directions. At 6:30, both Ranger groups moved into their final assault positions with careful coordination to ensure simultaneous attack. The land team descended from the ridges and advanced toward the northern edge of the shipyard, staying low behind rocks and using natural terrain features to avoid detection. Team leaders used hand signals to control movement and maintain silence as they closed on the fence line. The sea team guided their inflatable boats quietly toward the docks with engines running at minimum power to reduce noise that might alert Iranian coastal observers. The boats stayed in a loose formation, ready to spread out and land on different docks when the assault began. Each boat carried 5 Rangers and their equipment, creating a mobile assault force that could strike directly at the vessels. The facility was beginning its morning shift, with workers arriving through the main gate and security forces conducting routine patrols between the buildings and docks. The facility operated on a standard schedule, with most workers arriving between 6:30 and 7:00 to begin their day. This predictable pattern created an opportunity for the Rangers to strike when the facility was staffed, but security forces were focused on routine activities. The 4 waterfront docks held boats at different completion levels, with cranes and equipment positioned around partially completed hulls. Workers were just beginning to arrive at the docks, preparing to start welding, installing components, and conducting other activities. At 7:00, the assault began, with both teams attacking at the same time. The land team breached the northern fence using explosive charges and rushed through the opening, while the sea team landed on the docks and began moving toward the vessels under construction. Iranian security forces near the northern edge responded immediately when they heard the fence explosions. Guards opened fire from defensive positions, but the Rangers advanced with coordinated fire that quickly overwhelmed the initial defenders. Within 3 minutes, the northern section was secured, and the land team was advancing deeper into the facility. Meanwhile, the sea team had landed on Dock 1 and met 15 security guards defending the waterfront area. A brief but intense firefight erupted as Rangers fought to establish a foothold on the docks. The Rangers used the vessels as cover while engaging the defenders, and within 5 minutes they had neutralized the immediate threat. The land team split into two groups as they advanced through the shipyard. Team Alpha moved toward the assembly buildings where boat components were manufactured, while Team Bravo advanced toward the administration facility to secure documents and computer systems. Within minutes, Team Alpha reached Assembly Building 1 and placed breaching charges on the main entrance. The explosion created an opening and Rangers immediately entered, finding a large workspace where hull sections were being made. About 20 workers and guards were inside when the Rangers breached, and the team secured the building within 8 minutes. The assembly floor contained equipment for cutting and shaping metal hull plates, welding stations where sections were joined together, and storage areas holding completed components. Demolition specialists began placing charges on the critical manufacturing equipment that would be difficult to replace. At the same time, Team Bravo reached the administration building and breached the entrance, meeting minimal resistance as most security forces had responded to the attacks at the docks and northern edge. The team secured the building and intelligence specialists began downloading data from computer systems, while photographing documents related to boat production schedules. Back at the waterfront, the sea team was clearing the 4 docks one by one and securing the vessels. Dock 1 held 3 boats nearly complete with engines installed and weapons mounting points visible on their decks. These boats were nearly ready for delivery to the Iranian Navy and represented months of work. Dock 2 contained 4 boats in mid-construction with hulls assembled but lacking internal systems like fuel tanks, electrical wiring, and control stations. Dock 3 had 5 boats in early construction consisting primarily of metal framework and partial hull plating. Workers had been in the process of welding hull sections together when the Rangers arrived. Dock 4 held 6 boats at different completion levels. Rangers moved methodically through each dock, meeting workers and guards who were shocked by the sudden assault from the water. The team secured workers by moving them to a central location under guard while engaging security forces who attempted to defend the boats. The fighting on the docks was intense but brief, with the Rangers' superior training and equipment quickly overwhelming the defenders. The team's demolition specialists began placing charges on the boats and the dock structures themselves, positioning explosives to ensure maximum destruction of both the vessels and the facilities used to build them. The charges were carefully placed on hulls, engines, and any installed systems to ensure the boats would be complete losses. By 7:30, all Ranger teams had secured their primary objectives and controlled the main areas of the shipyard. Iranian resistance had largely collapsed, with most security forces either neutralized or captured. About 60 workers and technical staff had been secured in a central location under guard. The U.S. Rangers had suffered minimal casualties during the initial assault, with only 8 soldiers sustaining minor injuries from defensive fire. Iranian losses were higher, with approximately 48 security personnel having been neutralized during the fighting and another 35 captured. Demolition teams began their complete destruction of the facility. The 18 vessels received special attention, with charges placed to destroy hulls, engines, and any installed systems. The charges were set to ensure the boats would be total losses with no possibility of salvage or repair. Meanwhile, Assembly Building 1 was rigged with explosives targeting the hull fabrication equipment, welding stations, and metal working tools. The specialized machinery represented years of investment and would take considerable time to replace even if the building structure survived. Assembly Building 2 received similar treatment with charges placed on equipment used to manufacture boat engines and propulsion systems. This building housed machine tools capable of producing the high-performance engines needed for fast attack boats. Assembly Building 3, which contained electronics assembly and weapons installation equipment, was targeted for complete destruction. The precision tools and testing equipment in this building were particularly valuable and difficult to obtain due to international sanctions. The 4 docks were rigged with charges on their structural supports and crane systems. Destroying the docks would eliminate the shipyard's ability to construct new boats, even if production equipment could be replaced. At 8:30, all demolition charges had been placed throughout the facility, and the Rangers began their withdrawal. The land team moved back toward the northern edge where vehicles waited in concealed positions to transport them to the extraction point in the mountains. Meanwhile, the sea team returned to their inflatable boats for the journey back to waiting ships offshore in international waters. The captured workers and security forces were secured in a safe location away from the buildings that would be destroyed. These individuals were not direct combatants and would be left for Iranian authorities to recover after the Rangers withdrew. At 9:00, with all Ranger teams at safe distances from the facility, the commander triggered the demolition charges remotely using a radio detonator. The explosions occurred in a precisely timed sequence designed to maximize destruction while preventing charges from interfering with each other. The 18 vessels exploded at the same time with charges detonating on each vessel. The explosions tore through holes, destroyed engines, and shattered any installed systems. Some boats were thrown off their stands by the force of the blasts, while others simply disintegrated where they stood. Metal fragments and debris flew in all directions as the boats were reduced to twisted wreckage. The 4 docks exploded seconds later with charges placed on support pillars and crane structures, bringing down the massive waterfront facilities. The explosion severed the structural supports, and the docks collapsed into the water with twisted metal and concrete rubble, creating obstacles in the harbor that would prevent any quick reconstruction. The cranes toppled over and crashed down onto the debris, adding to the destruction. Assembly Building 1 erupted in a series of explosions as charges destroyed the whole fabrication equipment throughout the large structure. The building structure remained partially standing, but the manufacturing capability inside was completely eliminated with metal working machinery, welding stations, and fabrication tools destroyed beyond repair. Fires broke out in several areas as materials ignited from the explosions. Assembly Buildings 2 and 3 received similar destruction, with explosions eliminating the engine, production, and electronics assembly capabilities that were critical for completing the fast attack boats. The specialized equipment in both buildings was destroyed beyond any possibility of repair, and the loss of this machinery would prevent Iran from resuming production even if the docks could be rebuilt. The administration building was demolished to destroy the production management systems and prevent any salvage of documentation or computer systems that might aid reconstruction efforts. The explosion brought down the structure and buried any surviving records under rubble. The Rangers observed the destruction from their positions outside the shipyard, confirming that all objectives had been achieved. Columns of smoke rose from the destroyed buildings, and the waterfront area was completely devastated, with the collapsed docks blocking access to the water. The entire complex was rendered non-functional, unable to build or maintain boats without extensive reconstruction. By 10:00 in the morning, all Ranger teams had reached their extraction points after successfully withdrawing from the destroyed shipyard. The land team was picked up by helicopters that had staged across the border in friendly territory. With the aircraft flying low through mountain valleys to avoid Iranian radar detection, the 40 Rangers boarded quickly, and the helicopters departed immediately, returning across the border before Iranian forces could respond. The sea team met up with U.S. Navy vessels in international waters of the Persian Gulf, with the inflatable boats coming alongside larger ships that provided cover and transport. The 30 Rangers climbed aboard and the boats were recovered, and the naval vessels moved away from Iranian territorial waters while maintaining defensive readiness. American casualties were 8 Rangers with minor injuries sustained during the initial assault, all treated in the field. Iranian casualties included 48 security personnel who had been neutralized during the fighting.